Hello everyone. Today I felt called to do a pick a card on what can I release right now out of my life. So this is going to be guidance that Spirit wants you to have with you on your path, wherever you're walking, wherever you're going. So take a couple moments to center yourself, take a few grounding breaths, and let yourself be called to a pile that is resonating for you with whatever message that you need to hear today. This has no rules and it's timeless, so let's get into pile one. Okay, pile one. So my decks will all be listed in the description below. So I'm not going to introduce them, but I've already shuffled off camera and I have the cards. So Divine Masculine. So immediately I'm getting the sense that you may be in some kind of romantic connection with someone who is more masculine. They don't have to be a male, but this is definitely masculine energy, and it's like toxic masculine energy, like not being able to confront emotions. But here's a 2 and a 2, and that's 4, and it's like this is creating a foundation in some way for the way that relationships will play out for you in the future, and how you view relationships, what you expect, and what you come to know that you deserve in a relationship as well is definitely coming through. So let's get into some of the other cards that came out. Here we have the Emperor. So this is definitely having to do with some kind of counterpart connection. And I know this may be kind of difficult to hear, but if you did choose this pile, there's in some way you understand that this connection is on its way out and it's not serving you as it has in the past. It could be in some way, you don't necessarily have to be like completely releasing this person for some of you. For others of you, you know that this person needs to be on their way out, but it could be releasing the way that you think about this person, the way that you associate with this person. It has something to do with the energy shifting in this connection. Here we have the Wheel of Fortune. This is something that's faded. You don't really necessarily have control, even if you're resisting a lot, because I feel like there may be some kind of, it's heartache. I'm feeling like pain in my chest at the moment. There may be some of you that don't want for this to be happening, or you may be trying to, I'm also being called to, there's wisdom here. It's like trying to find wisdom that will maybe confirm that you're doing something right in pursuing this person, but it's like you ultimately know and your intuition is guiding you to move forward and move into something different and find a different level of stability, because right now there's something in you that's trying to find stability in this person and it's just unstable, and that's being reflected here with the 4 light orbs that are together, and then the stability of a tree, and owls are also very noble, stable, kind of, yeah. For some reason I'm getting Capricorn energy, so you could be a Capricorn, or you could have heavy Capricorn placements that are kind of pushing you to seek more stability, seek something that's more grounded. Yeah. And here we have 6 of Swords, and in this deck specifically it references home at last, traveling, companionship, but platonic, like with friends, with people that you like, 3 of Cups energy type, like celebration, getting together and having a good laugh with people that you know are benefiting you. And yeah, not having to sit around waiting for this person to kind of get their stuff together, to put it nicely. nicely. And yeah, so this card, Seven of Cups, this is like choices. You could technically, because we all have free will, stay in this connection and choose to keep learning the same lesson, or you could choose to follow this wheel that's spinning and that's inevitably going to push you out of this, because you can't stay in something that's really negative or that's not pushing you forward forever. You could choose to keep repeating a cycle in a way. That's also shown here with this circle, but you're going to end up being pushed into something different and you're not going to want to keep getting hurt. Just know that hope is on the way. So I have one last card that came out, and this is usually a guidance card, something that you can be focusing on, looking forward. And yes, okay, so this Buddha, I know about him a little. The Lapis Lazuli Healer King. So this is like bringing healing into your life, letting you feel the reparation that is happening in your life, and protecting your energy as well. Putting boundaries up on yourself and enjoying the fact that you're putting those boundaries up, because it can be really difficult sometimes to say no and establish that and follow your inner guidance when you're being told to make a choice with this 7 here. Choosing where you're putting out your emotional energy and who you're choosing to engage with that. Because you can end up being drained if you're putting that out in the wrong places and it's not coming back to you. And it says sometimes it is good to seek help from others. This is guiding you to reach out to the people in your life that you know are having your best interests at heart and will be there for you even when it's not necessarily convenient for them, but because they know that this is something that's really difficult for you and what you're going through. And this red cloak is around him to show that how he's grounded and able to communicate with this blue and at peace with the decision that he's made. So this is a really beautiful spread to show that you are being prompted to make this decision because it's in your best interest moving forward, and it's going to bring you healing and bring you to a place where I'm also being called back to this card where this is kind of dark underneath this rainbow, but there is a rainbow over the top of it, and the rainbow is the silver lining of the cloud. Like there's always something good that comes out of something that may seem negative to you. So thank you, pile 1. I'm going to move on to pile 2 now. Hello, pile 2. So if you chose pile 2, this is what you can release today, what spirit's guiding you to cut out in your life. So let's start. Communication. So instantly, I'm getting the sense that some of you may be a little inauthentic when it comes to communicating the things that are really close to your heart with this green in here. And it's like figuring out how to communicate when the time is right as well, and being sensitive of the people that are around you, what kind of situation you're in, how that's going to be received by the people around you as well, and then not internalizing that to be something that's negative on how you perceive yourself, because taking into account the people or your audience, I guess, when you're communicating with others, it is important for how it's received and how you're expecting it to be put out into the world, like what you can expect to be getting back from the interactions that you have when you're communicating, especially things that are really sensitive to who you are and your identity and what you care about and the things that you're passionate about as well. So this card says, the frequency of communication supports our ability to exchange information in many different forms. It reminds us to run every piece of information, both incoming and outgoing, through our heart, the center of our truth, to stay in the flow of source and balanced exchange. So also, I'm called to let you know that the communications and the spaces that you're being brought into where you're required to communicate are important for the way that Source would like to communicate through you and bring you into different and better opportunities for yourself in the future. So even if you're just having a conversation in passing with somebody, it may be a lot more important than you realize. So let's look at the other cards that I pulled. Yes. Okay, so immediately in this deck, the Son of Pentacles is someone who may be a little bit more reserved, but they're dedicated to what they are trying to convey to the world. This is definitely, you may be someone who has to communicate a lot with people that maybe don't agree with you, or you're not used to communicating as much. You're kind of stepping into more of a moment where you have to be a little bit more open about communicating, and you may be somebody who views yourself as introverted or kind of to yourself, but you have to be a little bit more extroverted because of the circumstances that you're in. And this Son of Pentacles knows his truth, knows what he needs to reveal in a way, and maybe that's kind of scary coming out of the darkness here, but he's strong and willing, and sometimes can be a little bit awkward in a sense of like maybe you don't feel like you fully fit in to every like social situation, but Source is telling you like that's not always a bad thing, because maybe not fitting in all the time is important when it comes to making a change or communicating something that is unique to you and your experience. So we also have the Two of Pentacles. So this is balancing things, trying to weigh your options. You could be a Libra. For some reason I'm getting that. Or you could be dealing heavily with Libra type energy, or just having to balance things. Having to weigh the options of like, I feel like you also have to be a little discerning about what you choose to say in certain situations, as I mentioned before. Again, knowing your audience, knowing when you can be a little bit more radical with how intense you're speaking, knowing where to lay the foundation for certain things, because sometimes you can take a step in the right direction and be able to speak your truth, but not fully, so that you can set it up so that later on you can be more brash with the way that you communicate with others. You're kind of laying a foundation every time you have a conversation. You're opening it up to the next time you interact with either that person or that group of people. Just being able to get that into balance and know that you're also transforming things with this butterfly being shown here. It's like transforming things through speech and transforming things through having the right integration of both logic and emotion and even spiritual presence and intention and all those things, like being able to bring those all together to serve you in where you're going, and using your intuition as well. I'm being called with this purple, this blue indigo color here. It's like using your intuition to know when to speak the proper environment, how much to say, how to preserve your own energy as well, to make sure that you're not like overextending yourself or putting yourself in a situation where it's difficult for you to keep yourself safe with the way that you're communicating. And lastly, we have here the Lovers. You may have somebody helping you, possibly. It doesn't have to be just physically somebody helping you. You could have guides that are helping you at this moment, but there's a lot of love that's being brought to you in exchange for all the good that you're doing with the communication that you are putting out into the world. So with these Lovers, it's reminding you that when you're speaking, speak from a place of love. Remember that you are spreading love. That's the purpose of communicating, even if it's something that's a little difficult to say out loud or difficult to communicate to others. You are doing it because you're called to be spreading love, and you also deserve love back. So don't let yourself be caught up into conversations that may not reflect love to you, and know when to step away, because you're ultimately supposed to be interacting with people in a way that inspires love. And this is also Gemini. This is highly social energy. Maybe there's a lot of air energy going on in this spread, and a little bit of earth. It's like doing the work in the physical through communication, which is that air energy. And then lastly, this card comes from a deck that I usually use as more of an advice deck. It says, guiding the dead safely through the bardo. Death is only a door. Choose the door leading to the light. Yes, so you could end up finding yourself in conversations that you feel like they are coming to a dead end, or asking yourself, why am I even doing this? Questioning the struggle aspect of the conversations that you may have to have. And it's like, you could choose to go in a different way and choose to not have to take this more difficult route in terms of communicating. But if you choose to keep following the light and keep pushing on this love that you know that you can bring to others, you will start to feel that enlightenment and feel the positive energy flowing around in your spaces that you're in. So thank you, pile 2. This was really beautiful, but I'm going to move on to pile 3. Hello, pile 3. So this is going to be a reading on what you can release from your life right now. So I'm going to start with this card. Okay. So this is the solar plexus chakra. It says, the frequency of the solar plexus chakra, the yellow flower of life, supports our sense of self, our personal power, and our willpower, as well as our knowing of who we are and what our contribution is to the whole. I feel like you may be going through some kind of rebirth in terms of your conception of who you are and how you contribute to the greater collective. You may have recently gone through some kind of spiritual awakening or transformation of some sort, and this is reminding you that that is definitely the life situation that you've been in, and that you're gonna have to let some things and some things that you identify as part of who you are or how you operate in social circles and stuff like that, you're gonna have to let some of that fall away and not be so ingrained in part of your sense of how you conceptualize yourself and how you present yourself to others as well. I have some more. Oh, Hanged Man. This is just, it's funny when it lines up like that, because yes, the Hanged Man is somebody who's seen life and seen different aspects of who they are themselves in a different way. This especially is showing me that you have spiritually viewed the relationships that you're in, the situations that you're in, even the reason why you're doing the things that you're doing as being part of a greater purpose. And then you're seeing like, oh, I may be acting selfish in this way, or doing things that are kind of purposefully ignoring how the people that I know feel. I personally have had this happen where I am making choices that I know are only to serve myself, or things that I'm chasing that are not serving my greater purpose. And you get to a point where you're like, okay, am I going to keep going down this dead-end road, or am I going to turn around and go down the road that's leading me to where I need to go? Yeah, Seven of Swords. So this card immediately tells me deception. There's some kind of deception that's happening, and I feel like this is definitely self-deception. Even though you've had this hangman moment where you're seeing things differently, you're also still in a way deceiving yourself as to who you are and what you're supposed to be doing. You may be making excuses. In a way, I feel like some of you could be going through some kind of addiction type thing where you justify or make excuses for behavior that you're repeating, or something that you consistently go back to that is like, Source is just telling you like, that's gotta go, and you've got to stop identifying with some aspect of something that you're doing. This could be something that you're doing. It could also be the way that you're thinking about something, or something you're telling yourself that's just, it's lying to yourself, and you're gonna end up having a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, if you're telling yourself that like negative beliefs, it's going to end up happening if you don't let it go and integrate in these more developed and aspects of yourself that you're starting to realize after you've become this hangman. So the last card here is the High Priestess, and this is usually, to me, it's like your intuition. You already know. If you've had any questions throughout watching this pile, what is it that I need to release? What part of myself am I lying to myself about that is just not genuinely who I am? It's not a part of who I am. You already know, and it's already starting. I feel like you may have some synchronicities that are telling you that Source is kind of trying to block you when you're trying to keep incorporating this side of yourself that's just no longer serving you. And the mental processes are there with this hangman. Your thought forms are being transformed, and you're having these thoughts like, oh, maybe that's just not really for me. It's not part of who I am. And you do see that. You're going to start looking to the future and trying to envision yourself as, like, hypothetically, if I did this, how would I be? What type of person would I become? I feel like playing with those kind of imagining these scenarios of how you could possibly be may help you see solutions in how you could move into this new identity and release. It's like a snake releasing its old skin, letting go of that old version of you and learning from that old version of you. You don't have to dislike it or even criticize yourself. I don't think you should. I think you should just be able to see, I'm moving in a new direction. This is going to bring me to the peace and the happiness and the better expression of myself that I've been wanting to portray to the world and that I also see myself as. So this last card is going to be some kind of advice, because that's how this deck likes to communicate. So this is the Karma Dakini, the great Buddha family of the North. Replace envy by focusing on your accomplishments. So if you feel like you get into a place where you are really wanting this old version of yourself, or that old paradigm that you're stepping out of, remember that when things change and we're releasing things, it's because we're fulfilling karma, and we've already worked that karma out. We don't need to learn those lessons again. So if you feel envious of your old self, or you may view that as like easier, it's like, replace that envy for who you were in the past by focusing on all the things that you're accomplishing now, and the things that are good and bringing you closer to feeling better about yourself, feeling better about your relationships, feeling successful in the path that you're walking on. Just focus on the good things that are, and the blessings that are being brought into your life. So thank you, pile 3. I'm going to move on to pile 4. Hello, pile 4. So we're going to be discussing what you can release from your life right now, and how you can potentially go about moving forward, and any advice. So I'm starting with prosperity. So this says, the frequency of prosperity supports our feeling of well-being by allowing the inclusion of everything that makes our body, mind, heart, soul, and spirit sing. It invites us to express ourselves in joy and celebration of the abundance and the riches that the universe provides. So for some reason I'm getting really big Virgo energy. You could be a Virgo or have Virgo really prominent in your chart, but I feel like this is also releasing the expectation that you don't have everything you need. It's like being in a lack mindset, being around and understanding that you're being provided with everything that you need at the time that you need it. Sometimes I feel like we can get caught up in this, but I need more, or I'm not where I want to be. And if we weren't in the place before we got to the place where we need to be, we wouldn't have been able to have all the things that got us there. So it's like, sometimes when you're in this place where you're struggling a little bit, or you perceive yourself as struggling, you're really not. You already have everything that you need to get to the place that you need to get. It's just, it feels like you don't have it. And if you start perceiving your situation as having everything that you need, you'll be able to get there better, because you know that you already have it, and then you're not viewing yourself as lacking. It's also important that this red color is in the center, surrounding the green. So it's like connecting your heart to the things that are in your physical life that do bring you abundance, and remind you that you've been provided for, and you have all these things that are already serving you, and you don't need to want anymore. So we have the Hierophant. This is following thought patterns that may have been carried with you from a really young age. You may have grown up in a situation where you didn't always have everything you needed, whether that be emotionally, physically. You may have had problems feeling like you would always get to where you needed to get to. And this is letting you know you can let that go. You are being provided for. I feel like with the other groups, Source wasn't so clear with reminding you that while you may feel that you're not prospering, you also need to recognize that you're always prospering, because spiritually there's always somebody on your side that wants to give you what you want to have and what you deserve as well. King of Pentacles. So usually I'm thinking of the traditional Rider-Waite representation of the King of Pentacles. This person has all the abundance that they need and enough to be generous as well. So sharing what you already have with others may help you recognize how much you do really have already, because you have an abundance of, whether that, it doesn't necessarily have to be money, but wealth can also be emotional. It can also be a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of spiritual guidance, a wealth of personality, things like that. And this Father of Pentacles, especially in this deck, is somebody who's really enjoyable to be around. You are a prosperous person, and your prosperity will be brought in because of who you are. And people recognize they and want to help you in that aspect. You're never going to be fully lacking, because Source has provided you with this vitality and a personality that makes people want to be around you and want to help you out. So even if you do feel like you're lacking, you're going to be provided for. And the last card from this deck is the Son of Wands. So this is someone who is making plans and doing the actions that are bringing them what they need. So whatever actions you've been taking to try and possibly bring prosperity or get rid of any perceived lack, it's working. You're moving in the right direction. With this is fire energy as well. It's like fire and earth together. It's like you are moving in the right direction. You're pushing yourself into a place where you're going to be having those experiences that feed your soul and what you're passionate about and what contribution you want to be making and the situations you want to be in. But there's also something that's about perfection being kind of illusory. Like, nothing's going to be perfect, and you can't be expecting for yourself to not make mistakes, because success never comes without being paired with failure as well. So you need to give yourself that room to grow, because like I said before, you have this abundance, you have enough to share with others. So you also have enough to kind of fall back on if there are times that you face where you may feel like you're lacking in some way, but like you're always provided for back from underneath. Like there's always someone holding like a pillow out metaphorically for you, like spiritually, in case you fall, but you can bounce right back up. It's like a trampoline, you can bounce back. So I have two cards actually that came out from the deck that likes to give a lot of advice. So we have Playful Red Goddess. Life will be an adventure if you let it unfold from within. And this is also reminding you have everything within you. This is also a really grounding card because it's a lot of pink and red. And it's like, think back to the way that you were brought up, the things that you carried with you from childhood that support the beliefs and the prosperity that you have currently, that are things that come from you. It may be experiences that you had, but it also may be even family members that you have that support you, that you always know are there to help you. And this is also letting your passion kind of take you in the right direction, and really listening to the gifts that you know that you have and that you've been given from Source that are not just to give you material prosperity. I feel like this is focusing on more of a fire aspect of yourself, because you've developed this material, earthy aspect of who you are and understanding of what you have to bring in that sense. And it's like focusing more on how this feeds your inner self and your soul and what your soul purpose is. And right here we have stand firm. Oh, this is a mandala. Stand firm to cut through tension, doubt, and fear. So if you find yourself getting in a place where you have a lot of fear that overwhelms you and overtakes a lot of your thought processes, if you stand firm and remind yourself about all of the ways in which you do have solid and established forms of abundance in your life, it will help you to ground yourself and to communicate with yourself and remember that you always bring in everything that you need into your life that is going to help you and serve you when you feel that you don't have what you need. It will remind you that you do have so much more than you realize that you. Thank you, pile 4. I'm going to move on to the last pile, pile 5. Hello, pile 5. If you chose pile 5, this is going to be what can you release, what type of energy or thought process is not serving you right now, and how can you look to improve that or bring in new energy. So I'm going to pick up the pile. Crown chakra. So the frequency of the crown chakra, the violet flower of life, supports our spiritual connection to the universe and our ability to transmute negative energy into light. So I feel like for some reason I just got the idea that some of you may feel a little angry with source or your conception of God, and be kind of in a point in your life where you may be like, what's the purpose? Understanding why, especially in certain relationships, things are being reflected to you that may be kind of hurtful, or things that you didn't want to have to experience again. And I feel like this is in a way making you feel like you're disconnected or not provided for, or nobody's on your side, like nobody's watching out for you. And this message definitely was meant to find you today, to remind you that there is always someone on your side and somebody's always listening to you and understanding that you have desires and you also have things that you've been trying to work through to move forward and improve yourself. It's just no healing is linear and no path is without twists and turns. And sometimes we have to be reminded of things in order to strengthen aspects of ourselves that may be tested even more in the future and that need to be tested in order for other abundance and blessings to be brought into our life. This also may be reflected in having seemingly like random negative events happen in your life. Just know that they're not going to be brought in without blessings on the other side. I have some more cards. Queen of Swords. So, especially in this deck, I really think of the word perceptive. Being able to perceive what is not serving you and being able to have discernment for the things that are being tested for a reason. So if you have, let's say, a lot of conflict happening in a close inner circle of people that you interact with, like this could be coworkers, this could be friends, romantic relationships, these things are happening so that you can be in the Queen of Swords energy and be able to cut stuff out. It's like you may feel kind of blocked in your connection to Source, because Source is like, okay, can this person make the decisions that they need to make to release the things that they're seeing that they need to release? And also, can this person see when they need to help someone rather than just cut them out as well? So this Queen of Swords is like slow to act in a way. She knows when to act, and she'll act swiftly when she needs to, but it's the discernment that's behind that that is really in her power. So I'm not going to be reading reversals. I don't feel like that's necessary. This is the World. So yeah, I feel like you're coming to the close of a cycle. There's been a lot of things that you have just strengthened in yourself, and you're kind of expecting in a way for Source to come through and maybe give you some kind of justification for all the things that you've been doing and all the changes that you've been making. But this is reminding you that yes, you are having this success and you're coming to a close. Spirit wants you to be a little bit more autonomous in the decisions you're making, not necessarily looking for synchronicities to tell you when to make these decisions. It's like using your intuition a little bit more, because the crown chakra is also close to your third eye, and that's your discernment, using your intuition to see into the situations and the relationships that you're in, and like being able to make those decisions. Right now, you have to be a little more independent and make decisions for yourself and for your betterment and development forward. You're always going to be protected and guided and cared for on a spiritual level and from the spiritual realm, but right now you need to step into your power. It's definitely reflected here with the World and the Queen of Swords, because these are strong energies and they're complete and powerful. Yes. And just to confirm that you have a lot of things happening in your life that you're going to have a lot of discernment for, and they may be kind of petty. It's this Five of Wands. This is like kind of, it can be a lot of argument, but it's also like resistance around you, a lot of negative energy just randomly being brought into your life. It's like, why is this here? Oh, it's serving a purpose. It's kind of seeing like, can you make the right decision? Can you choose the light over the darkness? Can you make the decisions that need to be made that are going to bring you into a sense of personal power and autonomy, and understanding that you are being given the tools and the skills and the abilities to be in a leadership role and also do things that are in alignment with your higher self and the things that you were sent down here to do. This is also heavy like starseed energy, so I don't know if you identify with that term or you know what that is, but this is definitely somebody who has the purpose of transmuting a negative energy into positive energy and helping people see the interconnectedness of the way that all of us work together and unity and that kind of a thing. So here's one last card for some advice of how you can help yourself and look into the actions that you're taking. This is the Guardian at the Temple Gate. Use your strengths to help someone who is struggling. So connecting with others who may be feeling some kind of spiritual tension, or who may have the same type of life purpose that you do. Connecting with people who are on your same level, like vibrationally, may help you out a lot. It's like this person this god is surrounded by a lot of fire. It's like using your fire energy to kind of help bring others into a place where they're understanding their purpose and also helping you understand your purpose simultaneously. So, understanding the strengths that you've already developed and that you've already brought together, and using that in a productive way, because I feel like you definitely get some kind of energy from the way that you interact with others, and that will help lift you up, help you understand that Source is connecting with you constantly through the people that are in your life and surrounding you. So thank you so much, Pile 5. That concludes today's reading. Let me know if you have any questions. All my contact information will be in the description as usual, as will the decks that I used today. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.